When I was a kid, I think I was about 5 or 6 years old, I saw this TV program about a guy. He was hanging out the side of a helicopter, managing deer, I think it was, in New Zealand, shooting them with tranquilizer darts and moving them around. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but the guy was hanging out the side of a helicopter, and I thought, bloody hell, that's cool. I want to fly helicopters. I want to be a pilot. And I did. I was about 20 years old, I think. I went to Hawaii for the summer and I learned to fly in Hawaii, which was lovely. I ultimately decided I didn't want to be a pilot as a job for a whole bunch of reasons that we don't need to talk about now. This isn't therapy. But I decided not to be a pilot and I decided to be an entrepreneur instead. But I'll tell you that story because there's a big, big difference in pilots. When you learn to fly, you learn using something called VFR, or Visual Flight Rules. So you learn to fly the plane or the helicopter by looking out the window, seeing where you are, and using that as your guide of where to go, where to land, etc. When you become a better pilot, you actually learn to fly using the instruments in front of you. You don't need to look out of the window. You know exactly where you are, exactly which direction you're going, when you're going to run out of fuel, where you need to turn. You know everything by looking at the instruments in front of you. Something called Instrument Flight Rules, or IFR. And that's the difference really between an amateur pilot and a professional pilot, which I never was. It is exactly the same in your marketing. Typically when someone starts out, and again, remember we've said digital advertising, digital marketing is very, very different to above the line, old school TV, radio, etc. So I'm just talking about digital. But many, many digital advertisers won't measure anything, and they will rely on their gut, their instinct. And this is like the pilot that's looking out the window, trying to decide where to go next. You are not going to get the best results by doing this. My plea is that you be a professional pilot, that you be a professional marketer, and that you use instruments, you use data, not gut feel, but data to make your decisions. In order to do that, we need to start measuring those outcomes that we talked about before. See, everybody measures the input. Everybody measures how much they're spending. Everybody can tell you within a couple of dollars how much they spend on Google Ads every single day. But what we care about is what pops out the other side of this machine. What outcomes do we get? How many forms do we get filled out? How many phone calls? How much does it cost us to get each of those outcomes? So that when we make changes inside the machine, we can measure the change in those outcomes. And we get to know, okay, my bid was $1. If I increase my bid to $2, what happens to my cost per lead and the number of leads? And remember, it's the combination of those two that equals your profit. Because maybe if I double my bid, I actually get 3 times as many leads and they don't cost too much more. So I want you to be a professional search marketer, to use instruments, to ignore the drilling in the room above, and use data to make your decisions, not gut feel.